it's difficult to actually guess what would be the next big thing within the next 2 or 3 years. But I do see stable coins playing an even larger role in terms of actually being a key core infrastructure that the Web3 space needs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship. My name is Lam, your Web3 host, as usual. For those of you who are new to the show, Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship is the show highlighting the journeys of builders and innovators in Web3 and entrepreneurship. Some topics, especially in Web3, may get technical, but we do our best to keep it accessible for most people. Here today, I'm joined by David Tang. He's the Managing Director at TZ APAC. David, can you give a quick introduction by yourself?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on your show. So yeah, so I'm managing an entity called TZ APAC. We are an entity that's focusing on adoption for the Tezos blockchain. But a bit about how I came about before I joined the Tezos ecosystem is that I have been working in the FinTech sector for about 8 years. And the FinTech side is actually in the sector there's actually both the private banking side as well as the startup side. So for the private banking side, I actually help one of the larger private banks in terms of implementing a robo-advisory initiative. And that was actually being done in Shenzhen. And in the startup side, I've dabbled pretty much with almost all the pillars of FinTech, whether we are looking at payments, whether we are looking at remittance, whether we are looking at lending or even wealth. Actually, pretty much everything other than insure. So yeah, that was my background.
Cool. Wow, I see. Yeah, actually, so I'm probably curious. I've had a few guests who also work in banking in the past. I think banking seems like a pretty common path for a lot of my guests, who go from TradFi, traditional finance, and then go into Web3, right? So I'm actually curious more about maybe if you can talk about, of course, if it was confidential, you don't have to, but what was robo-advisory? Can you explain this? What does it mean?
So again, robo-advisory basically is a way to make a lot of the wealth management tools available for the mass market. Because if you're looking at if imagine if you were to want to actually get a relationship manager or whatever at for example UBS or even Credit Suisse or the such, you need to be of a certain net worth or actually a certain amount of asset under management before they actually will onboard you. Because of creating products that's dedicated to you, that's actually bespoke to you, this all takes time. So it only makes sense if you are hitting a certain amount. So robo-advisory, it's a way to actually address that the other segments, they haven't actually hit the amount. So for instance, if I would like to actually say that, hey, this is my risk appetite, there are certain sectors which I'm interested in, using algorithms is able to sort of carve out certain packages based on questionnaires and what you're interested in to say that, hey, this one product that we have that might suit you the best, and it has maybe a bit on a bit of investing in China growth stocks, a bit on US, but there's also some wealth preservation elements. So I think it's really using technology to actually come up with bespoke solutions that traditionally is unavailable to people that don't actually have a certain amount of assets.
Interesting. Yeah. So when you said when people hit a certain net worth, right? They have maybe a relationship manager or a private banking person. What is that net worth? Is it I don't know. Is there a number?
It depends on the individual banks. So most of the private banks, I think they start at 250 to 500,000 in terms of asset under management. But of course, if you're looking at
$250 US?
Yeah, 250. Yeah, but if you're looking at maybe even some of the more premium ones, then it could even range to 1 million, 2 million, or even more, right? So I think there's a wide variation. Generally, this amount of just putting this amount of money into investments, I think it's also not something that's anybody have access to. So I think it's really the idea of of actually allowing anybody, even if you say that, oh yeah, I'm going to just invest maybe $500 every month, that they can actually have to have custom tailored solutions.
Yeah. I see. So
custom is also a very big word, right? Because technically on the back end there is different variations of portfolio. So it's not really
Yeah,
a bespoke one, but it's actually bespoke because it takes into consideration your needs.
that's true. That's true. So basically, robo-advisory, I guess, is like it was using some sort of like algorithm, right, or robots in
Yeah.
some other way, and then you just give some advice for people with
Yeah.
their portfolio, what to invest in, right?
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah.
these are people who are like maybe under like 250K net worth, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So is this like a free service for the consumer?
No, like there are a lot of robo advisors even in Singapore and everywhere. Like most of them usually come up with like dollar cost average plans or whatever, where it's like first you do a risk assessment questionnaire, which is always required, right, as per regulations. Then
Hmm.
they'll advise you, okay, based on your risk appetite, how much money should you be putting into equities? How much money should you be putting into like bonds? How much money should you be placed into liquid funds? So I think it gives you a different type of advice and also different type of products where like, so this how your portfolio should look. But like, okay, what about countries? Or is there some sort of like thematical approaches to it where they're like, yeah, very very bullish on like robotics engineering because you think that's the future of manufacturing, and so that it gives different type of exposure. But like, I think that's the whole idea that like now based on your needs, instead of having a human advisor, which is costly, you have now a robot advisor that actually based on this algorithm, like, here's what you want. Here's probably some options for you.
I see. Cool, cool. So basically, robot give advice, but in the end, like the one who makes the decision is still the user, right? Whether they want to or not.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I never use it though. But yeah, I'm more like a Web3 guy. But anyway, and then after you said you went on to work for like FinTech, right, in like so many different areas. What were some of the problems you were solving in the company you were working for? What was like the
Also, even for robo advisory, right? I worked for two different companies. One was a startup. So it was really like a very startup culture in terms of actually how do we actually approach a go to market strategy and everything, whether it's a B2B2C or is it a B2C product. Then with the private bank, they also launched a robo advisor. So the approach is very different because it's purely B2C. In that case, I also have other experiences. So I was also in payments fintech company. So they focus on three pillars where it's like utilizing a MasterCard. It allows you to sort of like spend your money. Utilizing their network rails to other countries. It allows people to sort of like using the account that they have to actually remit money. Whether it's like sending money P2P within Singapore or across to another country using like payment rails. And the last one of course is lending, which I think lending is always the most complex because in terms of regulatory requirements it's always a bit more stringent. So actually the one of the second time that I got into Web3 was actually through this fintech organization, because that was 2016 or 2017, and there was a lot of um companies that wanted a crypto credit card. So they all approach the startup and be like, you have a MasterCard license. What do I need to do in order to have to give to my users a credit card that is they can that I can pay you crypto? So I think that was how I got into Web3. But those are pretty interesting concepts. But as a whole, I think like the challenges is always in terms of like addressing the the B2C audience. And when we look at the B2C audience, like trying to change the ways that they actually experience this financial applications, change the way that they handle money, because I know now you're taking people that are very used to queuing and
yeah.
the remittance officers to remit money. Tell them, hey, you can actually go to any convenience store, pass them the money to deposit into your account, and then using your account you can just remit it directly. They're trying to change this kind of consumer behavior. So I think those are usually the toughest, because like people are usually, unless they have a very very good reason why, they're
Yeah.
usually resistant to the processes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think like humans, right? I think we're like creature of habit, right? I think
Yeah.
once we have done something long enough, right, it's really maybe it would take like weeks, sometimes even months, right? I think I remember it was one thing I learned in marketing. They have to keep showing like the same ad or like the same branding maybe 6 or 7 times, right, for the message to remember in the consumer mind, right? So interesting. So at that time you said that you were doing research on like Web3 credit card, is that right?
No, so there were a lot of like Web3 companies that approach the previous organization that I was working for.
Hmm.
And they approach it because they know that they are able to issue
Yeah.
credit cards, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
what does it take for me as a crypto company to actually be able to issue it to my customers?
Okay.
So that was not the first time I experienced or encountered Web3, but that was the second time, which was the time that actually I got deeper into it.
Hmm. I see. So now you actually make me curious. So what does it take for a Web3 company to be able to, like release or issue their own Web3 credit cards? And
I mean, like there's it's not that simple to say like, if you tick all the boxes, then you'll be approved. There's also a sentiments in terms of like whether MasterCard, Visa, American Express, all the major card networks, whether they're open to such to such initiative. I think in 2016, 2017 they were a bit more cautious.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it right now, I think like MasterCard, Visa, they are very open
Yeah.
to it. Of course, like they do understand more regarding how the blockchain, the cryptocurrencies, the Web3 space, how it works. So they have like safeguards in place of like, oh, should we actually allow companies to people to actually spend stables? What are the sort of like the barriers that we should put in place so that we would not like anti-money laundering, all these kind of things are actually being done, which is why I think they are more cautious with it. But like at this moment of time, I think they probably got all the pieces there already. So like as long as you tick the checkbox, you have a pretty high percentage chance in terms of like hitting your requirements.
I see. Cool. Oh, interesting. Yeah. And I think nowadays, like, I'm not sure if I've seen any particular Web3 credit card. Yeah, I know Web3 like debit card, right? And debit card, I guess, is like easier, right? Because debit is just like you have money, you deduct whatever you have. But credit, like, how do you evaluate someone have enough credit? Does it link to the Web2 credit score, or like they create a new Web3, like kind of a credit score system? Yeah, that's one of the thing I don't know if anybody have solved it yet.
So funny thing about that, right, is that actually if you look at to MasterCard or Visa and or many of the networks, right, all cards to them are all prepaid cards. It's never ever a debit card or credit card. Like the debit and credit card system is something that is actually something that is more towards the card issuer that decides, which is usually a banks, right?
Yeah.
So the card networks, all they do is that they facilitate payment, and as long as there's money that's with them, you can use the card to spend it. So I think the crux of it is that like who is willing to take the risk. So with banks, it's like, okay, you have money in your bank account with a debit card. So basically, the bank also have a certain amount of money that's placed into a nostril account or whatever. So that like so that Visa and Master, they can actually say, okay, there's money in the account. Okay, we can just deduct it from there. So there's no risk involved in terms of like on the bank side, as well as like from the network side, which is Master, Visa, or so whichever. But with a credit system, that's when the banks or whatever, they will start assuming the risk, right, in exchange for maybe interest or other stuff, or actually just encourage usage, because they do get a small fee from whenever the card is being used in terms of every transaction. So I think that's where the risk is assumed. So if you're looking at like a crypto credit card or whichever, like the risk has to be sit with someone in terms of like where because for these networks, they'll be like, okay, this independent bank account, is there money in there? Someone has to put the deposit. So I think that's always the
I see. Yeah, for sure. So I guess like it kind of makes sense that they probably will. I'm not sure. So I guess they probably have to do also like KYC, right? AML KYC for the one applying for credit card, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
More, I think this the requirement from the network itself is to that there's a minimum KYC requirements that regardless of like the amount, you still have to hit those requirements.
Makes sense. So I guess then they will probably reference like somebody credit history from the Web2 days, right? The financial day, if they have it in that particular country, I suppose, and then use that to make a decision
I
on
I
a
think credit
Web3.
history is more relevant to how much credit they will lend you,
Mm,
but rather like what they are more cautious about is like number one, money laundering,
yeah,
which is like a very severe financial crime, right?
it is. Yeah,
Or like things like terrorism financing,
yeah,
like and also like whether you're on like the sanctions list, things like things that will actually impact the governance. So I think
mm,
that will be where they will typically they the reason why they do KYC is actually for that reason, while the credit scoring is more for like, okay, how much credits do I actually want to offer you where you can actually owe me.
yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I do hope someday that like because I mean, I'm just thinking of this scenario where let's say Web2 people, right, with no like financial history in the Web2 world. Maybe they don't have credit card, don't have any loan, but like they go straight into Web3, right? Like for example, I think many people in Web3 also go straight in Web3. They don't have any financial history in Web2 world, and then suddenly now they want a Web3 credit card, debit card. But debit card, I guess, would be easier, like you said, prepaid card. But credit card, I'm still kind of wondering more of that area. So that's something that I don't know. I'm gonna keep looking out for just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. Yeah. So when you said like you first like I guess during the time 2016, 2017 when you first discovered Web3, right? What was like what was some of the technology or crypto that you learned about at first?
I mean like so the first time I actually heard about like cryptocurrencies and Web3, and actually it's not even called Web3 then,
Yeah.
was really from like Bitcoin. And
Okay.
that was actually in 2013. And the reason why I heard about it is because it was over the news, right?
Hmm.
That the guy that founded Silk Road was caught.
I see. Bro. Yeah.
Oh, okay, what is Silk Road? What is Bitcoin? Oh, what is the dark web? Okay.
Uh,
So that got me curious. And that's where I also sort of like explore to see like what exactly are these different concepts, right? Like oh, on the dark web there's no URLs. It's all like you have to install a special browser.
yeah.
So just exploring that, I think that was really really interesting. Then I also tried my hands in terms of like, because like the main thing in 2013 was really Bitcoin, right? So I tried
Hmm.
my hand in terms of Bitcoin mining, but like
Nice.
as a student that just came out of university, it's not like I could mine Bitcoin like with buying the miners, everything, all specialized equipment. So I basically tried mining Bitcoin on my laptop. And to whoever that said that they managed to mine Bitcoin in the early days 2013
Yeah.
using like their PC or whatever, I'll say that no. Even when I tried it during that time, and Bitcoin I think was like $60 or something like that, it was impossible to mine Bitcoin because like the hash rate was already really really high,
Yeah.
that you can't mine it on a very on a home PC. You probably need like um you probably need a lot more. So that was my experience. Yes, the answer is I have not managed to mine any Bitcoin in 2013 with my old Lenovo laptop.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was my first experience. Then after that, when I tried, it was very difficult to install wallets, to actually figure out how to install wallets, because it's not like an app where you can just double click install, right? It's like to use command lines and everything to install those. So that was how I got into it. After that, like I got out of it because like it was too difficult in terms of like the learning curve, and I was not getting any Bitcoin, so there's no point. So that was how that was my first experience. And I think the second experience being like 2016, 2017, when I met a lot of like payments companies. They approached the company I was looking for to actually get a crypto card, to get a crypto debit card or prepaid card. That was the second experience. I was like, and that was a lot more mature by then. It's a lot easier to install an application. There are exchanges available. So I think that itself is a different experience when I look at Web3.
I see. Cool. Yeah, I think Bitcoin mining is a pretty fascinating area. Had a few guests also on here. I'm probably just gonna leave a link up here for episode 45. when I talked to Boyan, he actually have a very interesting like Bitcoin mining story in that episode for those interested. Anyway, so before we deep dive into your current company that you helping to run, can you share with us like one fun thing? Maybe what can you share with us? What do you do for fun? Your hobbies?
What do I do for fun? I mean, like I feel that my whole entire life is dived into Web3 and the blockchain space. I have not, and it's something that I really really passionate about since 2016, 2017. So what do I do for fun? A lot of like degen stuff in terms of like exploring whether it's meme coins or like in 2016, 2017, what we do for fun is that we just press 100x on BitMEX and then see whether we win or lose. So I guess like the most fun stuff that I do is really just like taking a lot of risk while learning in the Web3 space.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, I mean, I think many of my guests also like kind of a full-time Web3 Bo as a business and also as like on the personal side. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and deep dive into your current company, TZ APAC. Yeah, if you feel free to share any history or origin of the company, and also feel free to share any presentation or slide or website that you have about your company.
Yeah, so maybe I'll share a bit about like Tezos in the first place. So Tezos is a layer 1 blockchain. The white paper was published in September 2014. So that was actually slightly after 1 year, I think 1 year after Silk Road.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically what the white paper was actually published in the very, very early days of like of Web3. And then the mainnet actually went live 4 years later. In September 2018. So that was the sort of like the history of like of Tezos. So the layer 1 blockchain, what we do at TZ APAC is that we are one of the key parties that actually pushing for adoption for this technology, this blockchain itself. We are funded by the Tezos Foundation, where they keep a treasury to actually and what they do is they sort of like deploy this treasury to different entities, different projects that's building on the chain to encourage usage of this of the blockchain as well as the technology. So that's how TZ APAC came about. TZ APAC was formed in 2020. It was in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So and the primary thing that we're addressing in TZ APAC is initially it was formed to really address the Asia region.
Yeah.
So we have like the strategy during COVID, right, was like okay, there's one entity that's addressing Asia, there's one entity addressing like the US, there's one entity addressing like the Gulf area, etc. So like it's all scattered around. And all these entities are all separate entities, right? So they have different strategies in terms of how they address their particular region, which is what really make a lot of sense. I joined in early 2021. So I wasn't one of the I joined pretty early, but I wasn't actually the one that founded this team. But yeah, like basically one of the key things that we do now is that we are trying to sort of like get more builders into the space and see what we can do to actually make sure that these builders is well supported and and is able to actually find success while building on the Tezos blockchain. Yeah.
I see. Cool. So you said like Tezos Foundation fund a lot of the activity of TZ APAC. Is there a Tezos DAO also? Is it like what's a governance model like?
So the Tezos the Tezos Foundation, they primarily they have a board of directors, which comes from like varying experiences. So there was one there's some from like VC experience, there's some from in terms of security and tech experiences. There's some in terms of like board members that are focused on like financial and treasury management, which is very important, right? Because like especially with foundations, how we spend the money is going to be very important. They come up with primary that portion of like terms of strategy of like what are the sort of like things that we want to tackle, whether it's like we want to tackle games, we want to tackle uh, uh, a DeFi ecosystem. We want to tackle like arts and culture, sort of like all those kind of strategy. So they make those calls, and of course like for us it's our jobs to also like pitch to them what are the most appropriate strategies based on what we see on the ground. And after that, there's always a conversation whether it makes sense in the largest scheme of things. Yeah.
I see. So basically, the board of director basically make the decision related to the Tezos Foundation, right? Is there like I don't know, like do you need like a super majority or like majority vote in order to pass any laws and governance and things like that?
I think that there are two in terms of deploying the funds in the treasury. That's where the foundation is in charge of that.
Yeah.
And of course, like the foundation reports to the board. So if like it's not being used wisely or anything, like then that's where that happens. And also like the foundation, they also have to do like audits. The foundation itself is also audited by one of the big four companies. So like in terms of how they actually manage the money and everything. So those are all requirements. At the same time, if you're looking at the chain itself, right, like the Tezos blockchain itself, it has on-chain governance mechanism. So what happens is that like every single, so as compared to other blockchains, there is no hard forks on the Tezos blockchain. Basically, it's in sort of like currently in a sort of 3 months cycle. The community would actually put a vote of which upgrades they would like to implement.
Yeah.
And then once it's approved, then it's deployed. Then after that, it goes into a cycle again. So this is one of the primary reasons why we have the tagline, right? A blockchain designed to evolve, because like every 3 months there is always a chain governance where everybody votes on like the 2 or 3 different proposals. So the most recent one, there's 3 different painting proposals of like how should staking rewards, delegation rewards, how should be managed. So that was a pretty controversial one, right? Because people are very sensitive when it comes to like staking rewards and everything. So that's why like people are voting for the different proposals. But like those are all managed on chain.
I see. Cool. So people vote, and of course only people can vote are the people who hold the token, right?
Yes. And of course there's a proportionality portion of that as well.
I see. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess if I understand correctly, then TZ APAC would be like the main research and development company behind the blockchain. Is that right?
No, so the funny thing about TZ APAC is that while we are technically at the blockchain, everything is a tech industry, right? For TZ APAC, we are mainly focused on like more of like business consultancy and the business side, the less technical side of things. So that's why like one of the primary things that we run at TZ APAC is Fortify Labs. And Fortify Labs, is basically a startup studio where every year we take in like 5 to 7 startups. It really depends on the quality of the applicants. We sort of like take them through a 6 months journey where we look at all these tech founders, right? Look at their product, clean up the sort of like the go-to market strategy for them, figure out whether there's a product market fit, because like a lot of like these ideas are still ideas even if there's a physical product, because there's no market validation yet. So we take them through that journey, clean up that portion. Then the second portion is like we after 3 months we would help them in terms of actually building out a community, helping them actually connect to VCs. So because they are already raised funds, help them in terms of like legal advice, connecting to them to legal partners, pretty much everything that's required for them to be a successful startup, to have highest chance of actually being a successful startups. So that's what we do over here. So we dabble a lot less with the technology aspect of it, but more towards like the business side of things. So basically that's one of the key initiative that TZ APAC drives, startup studio program.
Interesting. Do you have some, I don't know, so is this like a new program or is this existing?
So we have just recently wrapped up our 2024 cohort. So the idea is that we will accept cohorts around March of every year. And the program runs 6 to 7 months until the technical sort of like demo day is during Token 2049, because that's the time where it makes sense to actually go out and actually make noise for ourselves, right? So typically we'll run until Token 2049. Then after that we'll do sort of like some wrapping up and everything. I could share
Sure.
I could share a screen.
Yeah, I think that may be interesting to see what sort of a participant join your most recent cohort, right?
Yeah. So basically, this is the 2024 page. We have not launched the program for 2025 yet. So I think by the time this episode comes out, we should be ready to show the latest version. But the idea is like, you can see that, we are a Web3 startup. We want people to actually build on either Tezos blockchain or Etherlink. Etherlink is the layer 2 rollup. That's EVM-compatible on the Tezos block. And like, what we really do is that, we really focus on every single startup that's here. We view ourselves like, not just running a accelerator program, but more of like, we are deeply involved. So like, we will help you pitch to VCs. We will help you in terms of actually getting our hands dirty to actually do community building, to do questing, all the sort of things that's actually required to actually get them up to shape. Because I think like, for very initial builders, they may be good at building the tech, but they may not be good at actually building a community, or actually figure out how to actually raise money, or actually even saying that, hey, actually there's product market fit. It's not just an idea. There's something over there now.
I see. Cool.
We sort of support them with those portions. As you can see here, it's like, sort of like, the two phase, which is the build and the growth phase. And yeah, like there's all sorts of supports that we sort of like provide them with, and like we get our hands dirty to work with them. And you can see over here that we actually work with a lot of advisors, so that they have it's not just us, right? But like, it's also our networks that actually comes in to support.
I see. Cool. So actually on the top, if you scroll up earlier, I saw some of the logos on there. Are those like the company in the cohort, or is it like actually the partners?
Yeah, these are the 7 teams that we accepted this year.
7 teams accepted. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So you can see like there's OCV, there's Questflow.
Can you give like a one-liner about what they do? I'm kind of curious. Yeah, just to see. What they're building.
I'll share some of the projects. So like, number one, if you're looking at Questflow, what they are doing is they are trying to do a multi agentic layer. So pretty much what if you think about like the idea of Zapier, right? Zapier, they allow you to sort of like, hey, move, connect, maybe like whenever there's a tweet that comes out, you just like push it over to a Slack channel. But what Questflow is trying to do is they're trying to add AI to that. So you can simply like type to the Questflow platform and say that, hey, can you pull out whenever there's a tweet, can you send over the data and push it into like an email for me on a quarterly basis, whatever. So rather than actually having very fixed presets, you use the AI agent to actually help you connect the different AI agents below, which will actually be performing these tasks. So it will allow a lot more flexibility. At the same time, like, I think can be a lot more creative with such a product around.
Interesting. So basically they would do like some action on chain in some way.
Yes, so I think the on-chain portion is mainly focused on the incentivization and the payments. So what happens is that like Questflow themselves, they are the coordination network. They coordinate between the different agents, but these agents needs to be built by whether it's a company, whether it's an individual. Maybe for instance, like I want to know, I want to see on CoinMarketCap whenever there's a sudden movement, push this information to me on like Telegram. So it requires someone to create this agent that's able to pull this information out of CoinMarketCap, as well as like to be able to push this information into Telegram. So I think those are the sort of like different usage. But as a whole, it allows you to ask any questions or get this agent to do any task on the Web3 space, especially.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe another one is that I can also highlight OCV. So OCV is also pretty interesting. So what they allow people to do is that people can actually put codes that run on chain. You have probably heard of like ordinals, everything on like Bitcoin and everything, right? Where you actually put the code on chain. So I think what OCV seeks to do is that like, hey, why don't we actually put in a game that there's a fully functional game, because the whole entire code is actually on the whole entire code can be actually placed on the blockchain itself, and this will, instead of actually hosting the game on like cloud services or whatever, like it's fully on chain. So I think that is pretty interesting way of thinking about the usage of the blockchain itself. Of course, I think the eventual future is that if everybody uses this, then the chain itself is going to be very, very heavy. But as a whole, this allows a different use case. There's totally different from like smart contracts, because smart contracts usually like it's just a request, right? In terms of running a code. But now you're actually running a game that's fully back on the chain. So I think that has garnered quite a fair bit of traction as well. There are they launched a game called Block Reflex, where it's like sort of a emoji matching game. But like your performance, every single match you can actually mint it into NFT. So it's actually the whole entire, every single click you press is actually sort of like reflected in that NFT. So I think those are pretty interesting concepts.
Nice. Is OCV the company with the logo without words over there? It's like a square.
Yes, it's the one without.
Yeah, without words, right? Yeah, I see. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. So these are the 7 companies that will be, I guess. Yeah. So they just finished, right? I guess. Did they do like a presentation at Token 2049? What happened to Token?
So during Token 2049, we felt that actually like who would be in the right mood to sit into a conference room and hear 7 teams pitch, like can we even pull in that crowd, right, to actually get 7 all the VCs to actually listen to this 7 teams pitch. So if it actually it's very pointless to actually do something that's
I see,
like that. What we have done is that instead we organized a side event.
I see.
And we call it Tezos Realm. And within the side event, which was hosted at Chimes Hall, we divided the space into 4 different realms. So there is like the realm of DeFi. So some of the products that are building they're very DeFi focused on Fortify Labs, they are there together with the rest of the products on Tezos and Etherlink also there. There's also the arts and culture. There's also like the gaming, and as well as the layer 2, which is like the Etherlink stuff. So that's how we sort of structure it. As in that we give all of them a booth, so they can actually sort of like when people come to the event, they are being well hosted with like there's F&B, there is ice cream, like different things.
Nice.
At the same time, we also created sort of like a questing experience. So you know how questing works, right? Like in the web, you do different tasks, then you get
reward,
airdrop or rewards or whatever. So we brought that into real life, where they have, it's actually the questing actually came from Web 2 side of things, right? Where we give them a stamp card. They go to every booth, and based on how many stamps they got, they get different prizes. It ranges from like electronics bag for traveling, but like the first 10 that completed all the stamps, they actually got a signed jersey.
Nice.
From Manchester United. So I think that was how we sort of like simulate it, so that it creates this organic conversations rather than like having 7 people in front and maybe like 20 people that's behind just listening to teaching, which is very inorganic. So we try to do something like that to sort of like as a demo day, so that like people can actually organically have conversations in a more relaxed manner.
I see. Cool. Yeah, I think that's probably a more interesting way, right? Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, there's some recent, I was reading some recent text on Twitter about some people saying that when you go to Web3 conferences, maybe, it's the idea is like to connect with people, right? Not to listen to another, I don't know, listen to another pitch, right? Or something like that. Yeah, because Web3, most people, we usually work remote, like full remote. So you don't get the chance to see people in person. So I feel like, if it's in person, maybe do something in person, connecting, getting to know each other, playing some games, right? Yeah, things that you cannot do online. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
should say.
I've been to so many conferences and I've actually seen that like keynotes, panels, like in terms of the attendance numbers and everything, it's not the best, but
Yeah.
rather like most of the networking actually happens really through like these side
Yeah.
events, right? Where you get to meet them in a very organic way. So I think that was part of our strategy of how we approach demo day.
Mhm.
Yeah, this year.
For sure. Yeah, I believe that side event now is getting more and more popular. Some of them even like outshy the main event, sometimes, right? Which is kind of funny, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share with us more about what are the main programming languages on Tezos blockchain? Like what do people what do developer write?
So Tezos primary it's Michelson, but right now so I think that's in terms of Michelson it's very very robust language, right? Like there is formal verification, so that like in terms of its usage everything,
Huh.
these are requirements that would allow people to mathematically prove that
Yeah.
that the smart contract itself that are little to no vulnerabilities or any that no, the code is actually done well.
Hmm.
Again, I'm not a technical expert, so I can't comment too much about it. At the same time, like there is also a belief that eventually what to more developers and builders into Web3, we need to also be able to speak to the developers,
Yeah.
and this case is where we have initiative of which is our first Etherlink being a Solidity EVM rollup
Mhm.
layer 2. So I think that would actually appeal to a lot of the developers that is very familiar with Solidity. But we're not stopping there. So like there's an initiative called Jstz. So it's Jstz.
Yeah.
So it's JavaScript, but the
I
TZ is
see.
like no Tezos. So
I
it's like
see. I see.
Jstz it sounds very nice. But like there's many the idea is to sort of like be able to allow all developers to code in the language they prefer when
Hmm.
they are actually experience or actually interact with Web3. I think that's the eventual sort of like the goal that like the chain is moving towards too. Because like even if you're looking at Solidity, yes, majority of the Web3 developers are code in Solidity or maybe one or two other languages. But what about the bigger pie out there, which is like including the Web2 developers as well? I think that's the missed opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, right now, developer can write smart contract in JavaScript on
Not yet.
Tezos. Not yet. Ah, okay.
The compatibility everything is being built. But I think that's the idea of it, that like that the Tezos ecosystem as a whole is able to support maybe like the top 50 the at least 50 to 60% of like the top languages being used.
I see.
So if there's two developers, like at least one of them knows how to actually code using either JavaScript or like Python or whichever. Yeah.
I see. Cool, cool. Yeah, I think it sounds quite interesting. And of course, I mean, I do know that after joining so many hackathons myself, like most of the Web2 developer, actually most of the developers, they use JavaScript as one of the first language they learn, right? JavaScript, TypeScript. So kind of makes sense if you can, maybe like if you have something that would allow you to build smart contract in JavaScript, I feel like it's easier for people to onboard
Yeah.
into Web3 without
Yeah.
like learning a new language, right? Yeah, because learning a new language, just similar to, I guess, human language, it will take time, right? Yeah, it takes practice and time. Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also mentioned about like Etherlink, your layer 2 rollup. Can you talk about more like, is it like considered like smart rollup, right? Can you maybe talk more about like smart rollup? What are some of the plan you guys have with that?
Yeah. So for Etherlink, again, Etherlink's an initiative that one of like the other ecosystem entities is actually leading that portion.
Yeah.
So the idea is actually that it's a layer 2 rollup that's EVM compatible. And this allows accessibility, right, with the developers that hey, like people that wants to actually do DeFi now, they can use MetaMask or whichever wallets that they're more familiar with, the oracles, everything. There are very, very large repositories and libraries available in terms of support from like infrastructure. Like it's there's a lot more available. So I think that's the idea of Etherlink. But I think Etherlink is not it's just a start of it.
Mm.
The larger idea, which actually is one of the roadmaps, right? That there was actually a Tezos X roadmap, which is actually laying out the pathway for the future. And again, this is all these are all just like O's ideas. It's really up to the chain to sort of like vote on the governance whether this makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So with the idea of like Tezos X as well as like how the Tezos chain itself will evolve in the future. Don't quote me for this because I'm not the one that written it. It's my interpretation.
Okay.
Ideally, I think the best way is probably like for Arthur, which wrote he actually wrote the initial white paper, right? Like to explain it. But what I understand from it is that the idea that like there's Ethereum where they are sort of like they're approaching scaling through like layer 2s, layer 3s, the sort of like the sort of like what do you call it, horizontal
Scaling.
scaling, yeah.
Scaling. Yeah.
Then there's also Solana, right, where they're actually approaching it in terms of like we can make the Solana blockchain as like super huge. It's almost like monolithic approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how Tezos X and the idea of it, right, is that like, okay, why don't we approach it in the way that like we have a layer 1, and the layer 1 it just does the bare minimum stuff, the most important stuff, which is like number 1, governance, number 2, anti-censorship, and then we can because of that we can focus on decentralization, because like there's always the trilemma, right? Where if you do a couple of stuff, you actually lose out one. Then where we can so they just do the bare minimum in terms of actually making sure that it's anti-censorship and as well as like there's decentralization, and the rest of the stuff can go into a layer 2. So all the transactions can go into a giant layer 2 where, because there's already anti-censorship and everything that's in the layer 1, layer 2 just taking in all the transactions, and they're just processing it. So it can actually be super bloated, where it can be a giant layer 2, where it relies on layer 1 in terms of like anti-censorship and everything, while the layer 2, like pretty much all the transactions are there. The one key requirement is, of course, that it requires a decentralized sequencer, because that's the only way you can make sure that in terms of sequencing is fair. There's nothing wrong over there. So that's the general direction that Tezos is the roadmap it seems to be moving to. That we have a very nimble layer 1 and a giant layer 2 that is able to take very, very heavy processing, a lot of transactions, and of course it also allows them to sort of like there's also supports multiple languages through like RPCs, everything, that they can actually translate whichever language you code into and put it into this giant layer 2. So I think it's a sort of like different approach as compared to like the horizontal scaling, as well as like the monolithic. This like, okay, we have sort of like both.
I see. Cool. What you said then, was there be just one layer 2 on Tezos, or was there be like multiple layer 2? When I was reading your docs, I saw a term called like smart rollup, and I wasn't sure if does this mean like there will be a lot of rollup or layer 2 on Tezos, or just one giant layer 2?
So I think like the eventual idea is to go towards one giant layer 2, but of course it will take time to actually get there. So the likelihood is that there will be more layer 2s to sort of support everything before it reaches to like one giant layer 2. So for example, now with Etherlink, next is possibly Jstz with the JavaScript some things. But again, I think the future is really dependent, right? Because like one of the very big advantages of like Tesla blockchains that because we have the on-chain governance, we have that like every 3 months there's a vote. It means that we the Tesla blockchain itself can adapt to what is the requirements that's demanded as we get more information, because nobody knows what's the eventual, like 10 years later, how does the blockchain looks like. Nobody knows what's deemed as the best output or performance.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I know that our industry is like moving very fast paced, right? Yeah, I mean, I think even like in 1 year, there's so many things changed. I don't even know how we can. I don't think we can even predict like what it's going to be in 10 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention like AI and many other factors like from the traditional Web2 technology will also come in and disrupt many things as well.
Nobody would know that like meme coins are going to be such a big thing. Like there was the Doge Palm and Shiba and everything, but like nobody knows that meme coins are going to be like one of the biggest like topics happening this year.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's always like a lot of new narratives in Web3 that come and go with time. Yeah, I think last cycle, I believe, was a lot of a DeFi summer, and then NFT was pretty big last cycle. I think besides like Bitcoin, Ordinals maybe. Anyway, so actually let's switch gear a bit, and then I'm just curious, like talking about maybe how many people work in your company, TZ APAC?
There's about 14 of us working full time. And the 14 of us, there is sort of a mini HQ in Singapore, but like we have like team members in Shanghai, we have team members in Malaysia, we have team members in Jakarta, Indonesia. Yeah. So we are also, in a way, we are pretty scattered. And of course, if you're asking me for a number of like how many people are working in the Tezos ecosystem, then I've no number of it, because like it's like asking how many builders there are in Ethereum, but like nobody knows how to actually count for that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think like there's various like statistics I've seen on that. I guess people usually ask a question of like how many like developer, right, working on some certain ecosystem. I remember I saw one, I forgot the name of the company publishing it. There's a company that does like annual report, and you can actually check it out, like annual, how many developers are building on Solana, on Ethereum, and then on Ethereum they break down like, is it Ethereum main chain or some other chain like Base or whatever, right? Yeah, so there is kind of that number. But so
Electric Capital.
I think so. I think probably that was one of the one. So of the 40 people, what are the most common role, or what is like the most? 40. I guess the biggest 40, right? 40.
1-4. We're very
1-4. 14.
14
okay.
of us.
My bad. Oh, that's okay. It's quite small. So what is the biggest department or biggest role?
I mean we are pretty evenly split. So there's about 4% in the marketing side. In terms of marketing, they do like number one, we have a designer, we have someone that's actually doing like social media campaigns. We have someone that's doing more towards the community side of things. We also have a gaming team based out of Asia, because like it only makes sense to actually have a like a gaming development team, like BD team based in Asia. We have like a team that's actually focused on running the Fortify Labs program. So it's like programming team, right? They cover the program, the schedule, everything. There's a team that's focused on like partnerships. So they bring in partners that would actually support the program, and they also bring in like projects that will want to join the program. They also maintain relationship with like a lot of these VCs and enterprises, so that like we are able to be the connectors between like the ecosystem projects, as well as like these larger companies. So there's a wide sort of like there's sort of like a team that's sort of doing each of the areas, but basically I think there's a structure that like there's a marketing team, there's a partnerships team, there is a programming team, and of course like a gaming team and an operations team here.
I see. Cool. So where does the technology or the engineering team sit? Like who does a continuous development for the blockchain?
So that primarily sits. There's a team that's sort of like focusing on that. That's based out of Trilitech. So Trilitech is one of the adoption entity. They are based in the UK. There's also another adoption entity, Nomadic Labs, which is based out of France. So like a lot of proposals come from there, but like it also can come from different sources because we have seen like other entities that actually come with proposals in the past before. So you usually come out from those areas. If you look at TZ APAC, most of our tech needs, we actually work very closely with another entity as well. It's called Tezos India. That's based out of India. They do a lot of hackathons, everything. So that's where we get a lot of support from them.
I see. So I guess Tezos India will handle like developer relation, things like that. Right.
Technically, we handle it, but we handle it more in a sort of a business consultancy way.
I see.
Then in terms of a technical way, for developer relations, that's where we're like, okay, yeah, we need a bit of help here. We are pretty good in terms of actually activating a community. We're pretty good in terms of actually bridging conversations. But if you're asking us how to actually audit the code or whatever, like let's leave it to the experts.
I see. So the experts in this case would be like you mentioned what Chili Tech, right? And then Nomadic Lab.
Yeah. Those are more of like there's core engineering, there's a bit of everything. But yeah, I think it's like it's what you can see, like it's like a decentralized ecosystem, which is the ethos of like if you see white paper is 2014, so it's the core ethos of blockchain at the time in terms of decentralizing, and actually that there's no central party that does everything. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, of course, a lot of things in Web3 is about decentralization, so you don't want to give too much power into just one particular central party, right? Cool. So with that said, with a pretty nimble and small team, what are some of the challenges facing your team?
What are some of the challenges that we that facing our team? I think like one of the challenges is that like it's one of the key things that we want to do is that we want to attract more builders, especially into the space, whether it's a Web2 builder into like into coming to Web3, or even like a Web3 builder to say that hey, Tezos or Etherlink is actually the best choice to be building on. The reason is that I think competition within the blockchain space is very, very fierce.
Yeah.
And there's also a tendency, right, that like people like to sort of like look at the shiny new things. So if there's a chain that's going to come out in like the next 6 months and they raise a lot of money, there'll be a tendency for whether it's a builder, whether it's a VC, whether it's the retail community to actually go towards that. Once it's launched, then they were like, okay, what's the next shiny new thing? Is that sort of attention economy that we are all very familiar with in the Web3 space. So I think that's one of the biggest challenge, because as you know, like in terms of like Tezos, what we can actually provide is that hey, look, there is a very clear product delivery. There's a very clear product delivery where the chain upgrades every 3 months. We have been stable since like 2018, where the mainnet went live. But there's also a business opportunity of like, hey, I'm going to get more attention in the attention economy. If I'm a builder, I'll get more attention if I go to the place that's getting a lot of attention now. So trying to attract that, I think that's always that's always toughest, and I think that's what a lot of the blockchains that has actually been out or established they struggle with.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's probably not only blockchain, many other like blockchains also probably face similar problem, right? I feel like probably many is going to try to attract more of the Web2 developers into Web3. Yeah, so I think it's a common industry problem, which is not only for Tezos, but also other companies as well.
Yeah, like we there's always the latest topics or shiny new thing to look at, right? Like in 2018, of course, Tezos is one of them. I think in 2020, 2021, there were other chains as well. Then in 2022, 2023, like the names of the key blockchains to look at, it just keep changing. Part of like the 2021 one was also like Luna. That was one of the chains that was very, very attractive, very, very looked at. But like I think the this is like sort of a passing the baton thing, where it's like it is always being passed until like until the next new thing comes out.
Yeah, that's true. It's yeah, I think shiny new thing and the attention economy is pretty tough. Especially like I feel like we have limited mind share. As a human being, right? Yeah, and then how much is like being divided, and constantly bombarded with new information. Interesting. I guess which bring me to one of the question that I like to ask in my podcast is so what can we do as builders to help onboard maybe 1 million developers into Web3?
I feel that I feel that this is a very hot take, right? So please don't shoot me for this, but like I have worked in or been in the industry for about 8 years now. In terms of what the landscape looks like in 2016 VS, the landscape that we are seeing now, is vastly different. Even 2020 VS, what we see now is also different, right? Like in terms of like no maturity, in terms of applications, in terms of like in 2020, I was saying that the first thing I was saying is that basically for adoption in Asia, you need to be mobile friendly. But I think at this stage in 2024, there's a lot of mobile applications. Like we've seen like even mobile phones being launched by like by Web3 companies. So I think right now the hot take is that in order to get on board the next 1 billion people, developers, or whichever, it's actually regulatory clarity. So imagine if the UI UX is already very nice to use. If you're looking at like whether it's wallets, if you're looking at depths or everything in terms of user experience, it's already simplified. There's also a certain level of abstraction where it's not so complicated. So what's needed is that regulatory clarity would allow a lot of these apps to actually take off. Whether it's like, oh, now I can actually now as a game I can actually make money by providing gacha, because like gacha, the fact that it's NFT or whichever, it can be sold into like USDC, USDT. That's seen as gambling in some certain countries. So regulatory clarity will allow games to start implementing Web3 and actually make an income from that. Regulatory clarity in terms of like stable coins, it will allow a lot of the current payments system, whether it's banks, everything, to actually integrate into Web3 again. We're seeing a bit more of that, but I think that would be the regulatory clarity in a very funny aspect, would actually be the very hot take that it will actually onboard the next 1 billion users, because once those doors are unlocked, these amazing applications with like with already a much improved UI UX, everything can now take off.
I see. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's one thing that probably hampering the entire industry, though, not only like your company, but also like the entire industry, right? So I feel like Singapore and Dubai probably have better regulation compared to the US in terms of.
Yeah, but it's just giving additional example, right? So like remember I was talking about the time that I was doing FinTech payments. So that was almost like that was almost like 10 years back, right? At the point of time, like QR payments was very popular in China already, like through WeChat, everything. But in Singapore, it didn't take off at all. Everybody, because the fact is that everybody still has the habit of using the credit card, because we can do PayWave, we can do tap and everything. It's so easy. We don't need to use QR code. But only when there was initiative to implement a unified QR code system by the Singapore government, did QR code payments take off. So now everybody's using QR code payment. But I think that's a classic example of why at some stage, like regulatory clarity, or actually maybe not even a push, but a regulatory clarity will allow this sort of like floodgates to unlock. Where right now we got a lot of people that likes Web3, they're already using Web3, but to get the 1 billion users, that's where regulatory clarity in terms of onboarding, in terms of actually usage, that would be the key of it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, for sure. So in your prediction, then how do you think Web3, our industry, will evolve in the next few years? Maybe 2 or 3 years in the future? Because I think 10 is probably too far to give any prediction there.
This is a really, really tough question, and the reason is that like for the length of time that I've been in this space, right, there's so many things that I couldn't have actually foreseen coming in 2016, 2017, when like there was actually a lot of like stablecoin projects that were actually fundraising. I was like, wait, is it going to be a thing? Because there was already USDT. I didn't see a need for it, and then DeFi some happened, and then there was an NFT boom where they are being auctioned in in auction houses, everything it's being used for art, it's being used for games, it's being used for memberships. And right now there's even meme coin boom. None of these I actually seen them coming. So it's very difficult to actually guess what would be the next big thing or within the next 2 or 3 years. But I do see stable coins playing an even larger role in terms of actually being a key core infrastructure that the Web3 space needs. And we can see even data with Tether is one of the top largest holders of US Treasury bills or something. Don't quote me the numbers for it. I remember it's like top 20. It might change now, but things like this shows sort of that these are going to be very large players and providing the utility to the Web3 space.
Yeah, makes sense. I do think that in the future probably stablecoin will be growing bigger and bigger. I think that's one trend that's actually been very consistent since the birth of stablecoin. I forgot when Tether were born, but it just keep going up. Actually, like total number of Tether being minted, it just keep going up over years, regardless of whether it's like bull or bear, right? And that's one consistent trend that I've seen. Cool. Just 2 more questions before closing out the show. Do you have any advice for people who want to break into Web3 or getting a job in Web3?
I think if you're gonna get Web3, think twice first, because the industry itself is you pretty much gain the experience of maybe 4 years or 5 years of experience within a year. But at the same time, the exhaustion is also compacted in the same manner. I think you can agree to that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you get to live your life a lot faster. I would say that if you want to dive into Web3, first you have to really pay your tuition fee, go into the space, go into Twitter, go into dive into social media, see what's happening, join Discord groups, see what they're talking about, learn a lot. That would actually help you structure the way you think to be Web3 native, because I do see that that's one of the key challenges with a lot of the people. And even diving into Web3 doesn't mean you need to actually be get a Web3 job. There are a lot of people that after they did the research, they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna trade all day.
Yeah,
and that's also a very Web3 thing, right? That they will just
that's true.
trade all day and then just relocate themselves to a country that's a lot cheaper to live in. So I think that's those are all advice. But yeah, the key advice is go onto socials, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Telegram, whether it's Discord, dive into that portion. If you're a developer, then of course you have to join some of the platforms that a lot of the developers congregate, meet people in all those conferences, talk to people. I think that's the key advice to actually dive into Web3.
Cool, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that you're really deep diving and living in the industry probably the best way. To break into the industry for sure. I really agree with that. Yeah. And final question: where can people follow you and your company? Feel free to share any public handles or username.
Yeah. So you can follow my Twitter on TNG_David. So it's Teng_David. That's my Twitter handle. And for TZ APAC, you can always you can also search TZ APAC on Twitter. That's I think that's where majority of our messages, everything all come up from. We're pretty active over there. There's also tzapac.com, which is our website. You can also can check us out over there. But yeah, I'll recommend usually the social things, because that's the most Web3. Like websites are not that Web3. It's maybe like application forms, things that you want to know. But go to socials. That's where Web3 is all about community. That's where community is at. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna make sure to put those links and username in the show notes so that people follow you and your company. David, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today and talking about Tezos, and Tezos X, which is quite exciting. Wish you all the best in your company, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lam.
And we're back to my studio. What do you guys think about this episode with David Teng, Managing Director at TZ APAC? I think Tezos have an interesting roadmap with Tezos X. Hopefully, they can onboard more Web2 developers in the Web3 ecosystem. If you are one of the builders or user in the Tezos ecosystem, feel free to leave a comment below to share your experience. For the next episode, we're talking to Josh Caldwell. He's the founder of Moosh Network. Moosh is a decentralized peer-to-peer social network for joining trustless and trust-dependent systems and sharing digital resources. They believe that for the new internet, which is Web3 in this case, to truly take off, the world must merge trustless electronic systems with trust-dependent human systems, as these don't connect well today. If you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe. That means a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.